Welcome to Starbound, where every star tells a story. Ever wonder what happens when Chef Gordon Ramsay takes on the universe's toughest culinary challenge at an intergalactic summit? Let's get into the story. The sterile white walls of the Intergalactic Culinary Institute seemed to scream their disapproval at Chef Gordon Ramsay. The galaxy's most prestigious chefs from a dozen species milled about, their careful preparations emitting a cacophony of whirs, hisses, and gentle beeps from their translator devices. Ramsay scoffed. Nutrient cubes infused with synthetic algae extract, luminescent plankton paste. Predictable, boring, safe. He paced like a caged predator, hands itching for a real challenge. A timid Cathari chef approached, its scales shimmering under the harsh fluorescent lights. Master Ramsay, perhaps a more traditional dish? Your skill with Terran cuisine is widely respected. It offered a datapad outlining thoroughly tested recipes. Ramsay swatted the datapad away, barely masking his disgust. Traditional? Are you kidding me? I can whip up an omelet with my eyes closed? I want something extraordinary. Something that pushes boundaries. The Cathari retreated with a hiss of disapproval. Ramsay sighed. This is exactly why he despised these intergalactic events, always catering to the lowest common denominator. When would humanity, masters of flavor, be allowed to shine? Suddenly, the room buzzed with news. Whispers turned into excited murmurs. Humanity had been selected to host the upcoming Galactic Council summit, the most significant political event in the known universe. And just like that, Ramsay's ears perked up. This was his chance. News of humanity's selection spread through the summit hall like wildfire. For years, humans were seen as the culinary novices of the council, often relegated to safe, uninspired dishes meant to appease the palates of a dozen species. This opportunity was a chance to change all that, but it also came with an immense burden. Ramsay found himself summoned to a meeting with the highest-ranking human officials. The weight of expectation hung heavy in the air. Chef Ramsay, a steely-eyed diplomat began, your reputation precedes you. Your skill is undeniable, but so is your, shall we say, flamboyant style. A ripple of anxious laughter spread across the table. Ramsay bristled. Get to the point. I don't have time for this. The diplomat's expression hardened. This summit isn't just about politics. It's about showcasing humanity's place in the galaxy. The food, the presentation, it all matters. You'll be preparing a banquet for the highest leaders of the council. Excitement surged within Ramsay. Finally, a stage worthy of his talent. Yet the diplomat's next words made his blood run cold. Tradition dictates that the host species present a signature dish. Something unique, something that represents the very heart of their culinary identity. The diplomat paused, her eyes narrowing. And this is where things get complicated. Sensing trouble, Ramsay leaned forward. Complicated how? The humans, the diplomat hesitated. Recorded history tells of a dish, an ancient delicacy so challenging, so potentially dangerous that it faded into legend. Ramsay's mind raced. A legendary dish? This was exactly the sort of challenge he craved. Tell me more. A hush fell over the room as the diplomat's aide projected a holographic image. It was a shimmering, almost ethereal confection, swirling with vibrant colors that defied description. Intricate latticework adorned its top, seemingly woven from threads of light. Behold, the diplomat said, her voice lowered. The Calderon soufflé. Ramsay studied the image. It was undeniably beautiful, yet an instinctive unease settled over him. Something about the dish seemed off. Its base ingredient, the aide explained, is the nectar of the Calderon bloom, a rare flower with extraordinary flavor and also an incredibly potent neurotoxin to most species. Ramsay felt the room tilt slightly. A dish made from poison? This wasn't just a challenge. This was a death sentence. The nectar must be processed with absolute precision, the diplomat continued. Even the slightest error would render it lethal. Over the centuries, most species simply abandoned attempts to recreate it, deeming the risk too great. Ramsay's mind churned. On one hand, the danger was terrifying. Yet if he succeeded, the triumph would be unimaginable. Humanity would vault to the culinary forefront of the galaxy. This was the gamble of a lifetime. I need to know everything about this dish, Ramsey finally said, his voice firm. Every recipe, every documented attempt, everything. The diplomat's eyes widened in surprise. Then, a flicker of admiration crossed her face. Very well, Chef. We'll have all the information compiled for you. She paused. But understand this. Attempting the cauldron soufflé might be culinary suicide. Ramsey smirked. Suicide? No. This was how he would make his mark on the universe. The news that Chef Gordon Ramsay was attempting the cauldron soufflé spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. Delegations buzzed with a volatile mix of anticipation and fear. The Cathari delegation was the most vocal in its disapproval, their rigid scales bristling with alarm. This is reckless, hissed their head representative. The human is endangering the entire summit. They demanded an emergency council, claiming humanity's place as host should be revoked. The Silvani, with their gentle voices and flowing gestures, expressed deep concern. The potential for harm. It contradicts the very essence of nourishment, one elder lamented. However, their underlying curiosity was evident. These guardians of natural harmony couldn't deny the allure of such a daring culinary feat. The Delvorians, however, roared with approval. Their booming laughter echoed in the halls. Finally, a feast with real stakes, their leader declared, pounding his fist on the table. These thrill-seekers found the concept of a potentially lethal meal to be the height of excitement. Caught at the center of this intergalactic storm, humanity's delegation was deeply divided. Some balked at Ramsey's audacity, fearing a catastrophic blunder that could jeopardize Earth's standing within the Council. Others, emboldened by the potential for greatness, rallied behind him. This, they argued, was a chance for humanity to prove its culinary ingenuity against all odds. Ramsey, meanwhile, cloistered himself away. He pored over ancient records, scrutinized diagrams of the cauldron bloom, and analyzed centuries of failed attempts with a meticulous eye. This wasn't just cooking, it was a complex scientific puzzle. One key detail became excruciatingly clear. Success depended not only on his culinary skill, but on the collaboration of human scientists. These experts would be his secret weapon, the ones to unlock the chemical secrets that would make the cauldron soufflé safe, yet still delectable. Ramsey assembled his team with the precision of a military general. The atmosphere in the makeshift lab was taut, faces etched with a mixture of determination and anxiety. Here were humanity's brightest minds, biochemists, molecular gastronomists, and a holographic projection of the greatest botanist from the Andromeda system, brought in as a remote consultant. We have a dish steeped in myth and, frankly, a whole lot of poison, Ramsey growled, fixing his steely gaze on the scientists. I need you to deconstruct the cauldron nectar, isolate the toxic elements, and tell me how to neutralize them without compromising its unique flavor profile. He expected a gasp or a protest, but was met with the steely determination that reflected his own. These weren't mere academics, they were explorers at heart, drawn to the same impossible challenge that captivated Ramsey. We'll need a sample of the nectar, fresh, the lead biochemist ventured, and detailed genetic analysis of the bloom itself. Ramsey nodded. Already arranged. A team is on their way to Caldera the Souffleur as we speak. Risky, but necessary. Days turned into a blur. Ramsey slept in snatches, his dreams a jumbled mix of chemical equations and perfectly puffed soufflés. The scientists worked in shifts, their lab a whirlwind of centrifuges, spectrometers, and frantic debates that would abruptly dissolve into focused silence. Data poured in from the field team, adding intricate layers to their challenge. Then came the breakthrough. It wasn't a clean, elegant solution, more of a calculated risk, a way to manipulate the toxin through heat and a precise combination of stabilizing enzymes sourced from a surprisingly common Terran mollusk. The scientists were cautiously optimistic, but Ramsey knew better than to celebrate prematurely. It would work in theory, but could he execute it under the crushing pressure of the summit banquet? As the Galactic Council summit drew closer, two distinct camps formed within the human ranks. There were staunch supporters, fueled by an intoxicating mix of national pride and Ramsey's infectious bravado. But doubt began to gnaw away at others who feared the fallout if things went wrong. Whispers turned into open dissent. A delegation led by a cautious diplomat paid a tense visit to Ramsey's kitchen. Chef Ramsey, this has gone too far. the diplomat began, her voice strained. "The risks outweigh the potential reward. Many within our delegation feel it would be wiser to present something less controversial." Ramsey whirled around, his grip tightening on a whisk. "Less controversial? You mean less interesting, less inspiring, less of what humanity truly has to offer?" The diplomat held her ground. "This isn't about inspiration, it's about preservation. If, by some misfortune, a dignitary is harmed, it could set back diplomatic relations with those species for decades." "So you're saying I should bow to fear?" Ramsey scoffed. "Play it safe? You think I got where I am today by playing it safe?" Silence hung in the air, broken only by the staccato beat of the whisk against a metal bowl. Finally, a flicker of doubt crossed the diplomat's face. "We trust your skills, Chef, but we also fear the consequences of failure." Ramsey softened slightly. He understood their position. "Then trust that I understand the consequences too," he said, his voice low. "But we as humans don't rise by shrinking from a risk. We rise by taking those risks and turning them into triumphs. Now do me a favor and fuck off and leave me alone." Despite his bravado, doubt nibbled at Ramsey's own resolve. He practiced in isolation, his kitchen transformed into a battleground. Each attempt was a trial, a dance with danger. The nectar, even with the scientist's modifications, retained a hint of its original toxicity. It was enough to send tingles of unease down his spine, a constant reminder of the fine line between genius and disaster. Yet gradually, order began to emerge from the chaos. Ramsey discovered subtle cues hidden within the nectar's shifting hues, a telltale scent released at the precise moment of transformation. Like a master conductor, he learned to coax the flavors forward while gently silencing the deadly notes. News of his progress spread like a hesitant ripple across the human delegation. Support swelled once more, tinged with nervous excitement. This was more than just a meal. This was humanity's gamble, a leap of faith that could either solidify their place in the galaxy or throw them into diplomatic turmoil. Days before the summit, Ramsey invited a select group for a trial run. Trusted officials, brave scientists, and the steely-eyed diplomat who had first voiced her concerns. The room fell silent as the cauldron soufflé was laid before them, a symphony of color and texture shimmering under the soft artificial light. A hush fell over the room as the first bite was taken. Ramsey watched with a hawk's intensity, searching for the slightest twitch, a flicker of alarm in anyone's eyes. Seconds stretched into an eternity. Then, the diplomat lowered her fork. A smile slowly spread across her face. "It's not just safe, Chef," she said, her voice brimming with wonder. "It's exquisite." The summit arrived in a flurry of heightened security, interspecies delegations, and the palpable buzz of anticipation. The grand banquet hall shimmered under lights programmed to replicate the sky of every delegate's home world. It was meant as a gesture of unity, but that night the sky seemed to crackle with anticipation for the single dish that would steal the show. Ramsey and his team moved with the grim precision of a special forces unit. Each component of the cauldron soufflé was assembled, checked, and rechecked. Despite the outward calm he displayed, Ramsey's heart hammered like a war drum against his ribs. When the moment finally arrived, a procession of servers in pristine white uniforms carried the soufflés into the hall. Each delicate creation sat on a bed of spun luminescent algae, the colors pulsating gently to highlight the intricate latticework atop. Whispers rippled through the crowd, a mixture of astonishment and a touch of fear thrillingly disguised as polite curiosity. Ramsey, unseen in the kitchen, watched the monitors intently. It was out of his hands now. All he could do was wait as the leaders of a dozen worlds lifted their forks. The first bite hung in the balance. It was the Cathari head diplomat, ever precise and logical, who volunteered as a sort of culinary guinea pig. His segmented eyes remained fixed on the soufflé, and for a heart-stopping moment, a flicker of reptilian distaste crossed his scaled features. Then his expression shifted into one of bewilderment, followed by genuine wonder. A wave of intrigued murmurs spread as other dignitaries tentatively followed suit. Soon, the hall erupted into exclamations of delight, praise for the textures and the unexpected flavor combinations. The Delvurian leader banged his goblet on the table, demanding a second serving, while the Sylvani elders debated the subtle interplay of sweetness and a lingering, almost ethereal spice. The Cathari, always so rigid, broke into a lively discussion about the extraordinary precision required to achieve such a feat. Ramsey allowed himself a brief, triumphant smile. He had done it. Not only had he survived the cauldron soufflé, he had transformed it into a symbol of human audacity and culinary genius. In the days following the banquet, the cauldron soufflé took on a life of its own. The tale of the audacious human chef and his impossible dish spread across the galactic web faster than the speed of light. Ramsey, once an abrasive but relatively niche figure, became a culinary legend. The immediate impact was a surge of interstellar tourism to Earth. Beings from every corner of the galaxy wanted to witness firsthand the place where culinary art met the edge of scientific precision. Restaurants buzzed, scrambling to replicate even fragments of the legendary dish, while critics debated its nuances in endless vidcasts. The change within humanity, however, was perhaps the most profound. The success ignited a wave of bold exploration and ingenuity, not only in the kitchen but across all scientific and artistic fields. Risk was no longer a dirty word, but a catalyst for advancement. Suddenly, human scientists partnered with the daring Delvurians to unlock new energy sources, while Terran fashion designers collaborated with the Sylvani to create garments that interacted with the natural aura of the wearer. The Galactic Council itself experienced a subtle but significant shift. The Cathari, always proponents of caution, began to see value in calculated audacity. New alliances were forged, bolder treaties negotiated, all sparked in some small way by the success of a poisonous dessert. Of course, there were a few grumbles. Some species grumbled that humanity's triumph was a fluke, fueled by a reckless disregard for safety. But these voices grew ever fainter, drowned out by the chorus of those eager to see what impossible feat humanity would tackle next. As for Chef Gordon Ramsay, he reveled in his fame, of course, but his focus remained where it always had been, pushing those limits one extraordinary plate at a time. The cauldron soufflé had been a triumph, but he knew, deep down, that his greatest creation, the one that would forever change the culinary universe, was yet to come. The afterglow of the cauldron soufflé's success proved fleeting. While humanity reveled in its newfound culinary stardom, an uneasy ripple spread through factions of the Galactic Council. The Cathari delegation, in particular, found the humans' audacity deeply unsettling. They had spent centuries meticulously calculating risks, advocating for measured exploration, their voices echoing reason through the council halls. Now, this species known for their flair and spice had gambled with a deadly dish and won, leaping ahead seemingly overnight. Whispers began to circulate, discreet discussions held in dimly lit chambers away from the main assembly hall. These weren't outright condemnations, but carefully worded doubts cast by the Cathari, echoed by a few species who valued tradition above all else. The humans were lucky, a Cathari diplomat hissed to a Sylvani counterpart. They took a reckless gamble, and for now, it has paid off. But luck is fleeting. What happens when their reach exceeds their grasp? When their culinary stunts jeopardize the very safety of the council? The Sylvani elder tilted its iridescent head and considered the matter with its usual grace. Luck is often the residue of careful planning, it mused gently. Perhaps this is simply humanity's unique approach to discovery, not with telescopes and charts, but with taste buds and an insatiable curiosity. Yet the seed of doubt had been planted. A quiet faction formed within the council, made up of those apprehensive, not necessarily about humanity's intentions, but about the repercussions of their bold approach. Would this streak of reckless culinary successes embolden them towards increasingly dangerous endeavors? Could their pursuit of flavor blind them to threats that others might perceive? Ramsay, meanwhile blissfully unaware of these undercurrents, was captivated by his next culinary conquest. Rumors swirled of a dish whispered to exist in the depths of an unexplored nebula, a delicacy harvested from bioluminescent creatures dwelling amidst clouds of toxic gas. The mere concept was a symphony of excitement and danger. If successful, it could further solidify humanity's ascent as a culinary force. However, failure could ignite a spark of fear and distrust, casting a long, apprehensive shadow across the Galactic Council. The stage was set for a new kind of conflict, not one of war, but of ideologies clashing at the most fundamental level. It was a battle between those who craved the thrill of the unknown, those eager to explore the galaxy's uncharted flavors, and those who prioritized the security of the well-trodden path, wary of the risks that came with such audacious exploration. Would humanity's culinary ambition bring them further acclaim, or would fear and doubt turn the Galactic Council against their insatiable desire to push the boundaries of the possible?